Hello everyone and welcome to day number 53 of your daily Chafetz Chaim. Today we continue with the 6th chapter of the laws of Lashon Hara. The Chafetz Chaim writes in halacha number 3, if you were to have a question, that how is it possible to fulfill what we learned about yesterday, which means that if we are told that you're not allowed to even listen to Lashon Hara, but at the same time we said that if it is necessary for you to know the information for yourself, then you are allowed to listen to Lashon Hara, then how are you supposed to know that if you can't listen to it? So the Chafetz Chaim says the answer is as follows. If somebody comes over to you and wants to talk to you about someone else, and you can tell from the tone that what they're going to say is going to be negative information about this individual, then you should ask him, is this something that I need to know? Is this information that is necessary for me to protect myself or to help someone else? And if so, then you're allowed to listen to it. Obviously, as we mentioned yesterday, not believing it in any way, but at least processing it in your mind that it's a possibility to the point that you will then go and investigate and find out if this is in fact the case, and then take the appropriate precautions that are necessary. However, if you can tell from what this person's reaction to your question is that it's not going to be applicable to you, it's not information that is necessary for you to know, then you are not allowed to even listen to it in the first place. And the Chafetz Chaim notes on the bottom that we see that many times, even if you are not going to believe it, if you even listen to it, then the same people will come and repeat what they've said about someone else perhaps to you another time, and they will continue to bring negative information to you. However, if you stop them the first time and say, it's Lashon Hara, I don't need to know this information, please don't share it with me, then you will find that many times those same people will no longer share negative information about people with you because they know that you're not interested. And by doing so, we will be able to lessen the amount of Lashon Hara in general that is being spread. And he continues in halacha number 4, there are times where there is actually a mitzvah to listen to Lashon Hara, and they are as follows. First of all, if somebody comes to say something negative, and you know that story as well, and you know that it's not necessarily the way the individual who's saying it over is going to say it. So in order to say the story over properly, and that this way there will be no negativity involved, you're allowed to listen to it, and this way if the one who's saying the information does say something negative which is inaccurate, you can then contradict them and say, no, that's not what happened, and you can remove the negativity from the story. In that case, there is a mitzvah to listen to that Lashon Hara so that everybody around will not get the false negative information. And the Chafetz Chaim again notes on the bottom over here on this as well. He says that really, in general, if a person does hear Lashon Hara, then a way to rectify the sin of hearing or listening to Lashon Hara is actually by finding a tzad zechus, finding a way to turn this story into something which is not negative. And if you're able to do so in your mind, then you will have rectified the listening to Lashon Hara, because he doesn't explain this, but I believe the understanding is that the issue of hearing Lashon Hara is, as we mentioned 2 days ago, because it makes the other person lowered in your eyes. And if you come up with a way to excuse this and say that there wasn't something wrong, then he will not have been lowered in your eyes, and thereby you will have rectified the prohibition of listening to Lashon Hara. And as the same is true if you're able to tell this to the other people, obviously that will be beneficial as well. And even if you can't tell that to the person who's saying it, because you can tell that this person's personality is such that no matter how many times you contradict him, he's just going to keep believing his negative side of the story, then after he's done talking, you can go over to the people who heard it and approach them privately and say, listen, I know what really happened, and this is not the way it was, it's not the way that guy said it, and this way you will also be helping the situation instead of creating more of a problem. And the Chafetz Chaim continues and says there's another situation that you're allowed to, and in fact there is a mitzvah, to listen to Lashon Hara, and that is if somebody comes to discuss something that someone had done wrong to them, and you can tell that if you listen to this person, he will not go and then complain to someone else afterwards. But if you don't listen to him, then he is going to go to someone else. So then it is actually a mitzvah to listen, and again, to make sure that you don't believe it, as always. But if you listen and hear this fellow out, then they will not go and share it with anybody else. Then it's better that you do that, because if you don't, then someone else is going to end up hearing it, and maybe even more people, and they might actually believe it, and at least you won't be believing it. So therefore, the Chavetz Chaim says, in order to increase shalom and stop the spread of the Lashon Hara, you would be allowed to listen to that Lashon Hara, again, being positive that you will not listen that you will not listen for the purpose of believing it, but on the contrary, you make up your mind that you will definitely not believe what is being said, but at least this way the spreading will stop.